Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. Welcome to Extra Crispy. For today's video, man, we got 10 NBA trades that will happen in 2022. So I don't know what this means by like the trade deadline, or could also happen in the offseason before Christmas time, man. Or I guess New Year's would be the holiday, right? But yes, this is the video by NBA Zone. And link to his channel description below. So we're gonna check this out, see if we agree or disagree with these trades, see what they're looking like. Man, it's that season, baby. Like trade. I love trade season. I love trade season. Just not the Bobo portion with the Pistons. That part kind of sucked. And like 95% of the moves that we've also made over the course of the past like decade or so. But hey, that's fine. Let's check it out, man.
That time of the year again. I'm talking about LeBron's annual roster overhaul.
La GM.
Also known as the NBA trade deadline.
Hey, let's do it.
The rumor mills go into overdrive, and fans pray that their teams don't do something stupid. But a couple of GMs inevitably will do something that fits that description. With the
no doubt.
Superstars potentially up for grabs, this year's Woj bombs might be the biggest ones we've seen in a while. With less than 3 weeks to go, let's check out the latest trade chatter from around the league.
All right.
Number 10, James Harden leaving Brooklyn. One of the biggest
Yeah, my thoughts on James Harden leaving Brooklyn straight up is that, Steve Nash said it's not going to happen, but literally, like, every day we see a new rumor about, like, the 70s, or the Nets say they will do it if, they also get Seth Curry out of it. And I'm just like, is Seth Curry that big of a hiccup? But I don't know, man. I kind of think about it like the Nets want that DLC, like, buy one Ben Simmons, get the sharpshooter DLC free, you know what I'm saying? So I get that, but I don't know if Harden's going to be gone or not. Because you would think it would be for Ben Simmons. That seems to be, like, the mutual thing at this point.
Recent NBA storylines is the reports of James Harden being unhappy in Brooklyn. Following the standard PR playbook, Harden denied the reports, but insiders around the league aren't buying it. There's growing belief that he could be moved before the trade deadline, so that the Nets don't potentially lose him for nothing if he becomes an unrestricted free agent. One of the rumors
he has a player option, doesn't he?
Saga is the return of the proposed Harden for Simmons swap that was the talk of the town a couple of years ago. The craziest thing about the deal is that many people at the time believed that giving up Simmons for Harden isn't worth it for the 76ers. That take age like...
Yo, I read too that the Houston Rockets, they're cool with James Harden coming back. That would be interesting. I don't even know what that trade even looks like.
Fine milk, because Simmons has torpedoed his trade value since then, and Harden is as good as ever. Daryl Morey would probably do the deal in a heartbeat, but there's just no way that the Nets would agree to a straight-up swap. The Sixers would need to add sweeteners to the deal or bring in a third team. With Joel Embiid playing at the MVP level, they absolutely cannot afford to waste this season. But gutting their roster for Harden is something Morey can't do lightly.
Yeah, I get that.
Jerami Grant on the move.
Here we go.
The Detroit Pistons are a bad basketball team.
Hey! Hey, you speaking facts. Let's continue.
There's no getting around that. Sure, they have some nice young pieces, but it's doubtful that they are a playoff team even when those guys develop. The playbook is simple. Tank.
I mean, I think when Cade Cunningham, like Cade Cunningham's already shown like brilliance as like a future superstar in the NBA. So I mean, I do think there's a scenario where the Pistons with their core right now could eventually get to that point, but not in a way that it's going to contend. Like Cade is going to need pieces around him. I feel like Sadiq Bey is one of those guys, and the rest are nobodies, as Flight might say. But no, I like Sadiq Bey. I like Cade. I do think in a few years, if that was the duo, yeah, you could get to the playoffs. But I get what he's saying where, it's more about, you want to contend and stuff like that. And the Pistons are definitely a few pieces of the way to do so. Like, I do agree with that.
And trade away anyone not named Cade Cunningham for picks and or prospects. Detroit will probably trade everyone they can in the next week or two. But one Piston has been talked about for a while.
Now you gotta keep
Sadiq. Asset, Jerami Grant. His reps have even given Detroit a list of teams he'd like to play for. And while his list isn't public, some of his wishes have been leaked. He reportedly wants to ink a long-term deal and go somewhere where he'll be a top 2 option in the offense.
For a 4-year, $100 million contract extension, by the way, which is phenomenal value for Jerami Grant, assuming he buys into the system. Like, if he wants to be that number 1 guy,
A couple of the contenders have expressed interest, but the team that probably best fits his requirements is Washington, since there's no clear-cut number 2 option behind Bradley Beal.
That's a good point.
Are reportedly out of
I
the
like
run,
that, actually.
Since a package centered around THT and Kendrick Nunn reportedly isn't enough to meet the asking price. Still, there are more than enough other teams lining up.
Yeah, we don't want a 6th grader.
Price they want.
First round draft pick, 2027.
Will not be a Piston before the trade deadline is up. Number 8, Simmons and Toby to the Kings. There probably is not a single NBA fan who isn't sick of the Ben Simmons rumors by this point, especially since Daryl Morey is looking for a Kings ransom in return for a player whose trade value is at an all-time low.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's kind of weird.
Here's some more
Kinda
Ben
weird.
Simmons rumors for your enjoyment. The latest reported idea involves packaging Simmons together with Tobias Harris to create a blockbuster trade. The issue with that, or rather the first in a long list of issues, is matching their $70+ million combined yearly salary. In other words,
This man knows
the
his stuff
Sixers
for
need
sure.
a desperate buyer. Enter the Sacramento Kings. After years of being mediocre at best, the Kings look ready to finally blow it all up. Good decision, except it's probably a couple of years late. Either way, some combination of Fox, Barnes, and Hield could work out in.
Yeah, I would say in this case here, because like the Kings kind of already have like a little bit of a foundation. Like De'Aaron Fox ain't old. Like Tyrese Halliburton looks like a future All-Star. That's where it kind of like clouds my judgment a little bit. Where like when you see like guys like Tyrese be like brought up in trade rumors and stuff. I think those are guys you want to like build around and stuff, and give that proper chance to be the number 1, number 2 guys.
In terms of matching salaries, but a nuclear trade like this would surely involve extra picks, less valuable players, or even a third team. The Kings get a hard reset of their core, and the Sixers surround Embiid with young talent that is eager to win. Sounds good in theory, but even if this does somehow happen, you just know the Kings would find some way to screw it up. Number 7. Miles Turner finally on the move.
Especially
Go ahead
now.
and type Miles Turner trade rumors into Google and stare at
After Karis LeVert's gone, it's guaranteed. It's guaranteed that they are definitely in sell mode now.
amazement at how many times this dude has been connected to various deals and rumors.
He fits on
Props to
every
the man
team.
for being an absolute
Every
pro
team.
and playing with 100% effort throughout. But it's hard to believe that he's still on the Pacers. High motor, elite rim protectors that always hit the three are always in demand. And it looks like this will be the year when a Turner trade finally happens. At least it was looking like that until a foot injury made everyone hesitant. Nobody wants to give up a prized asset for a big man with an injured foot, and Indiana isn't settling for anything less than prized assets in return.
Y'all could have
The old
Saban
saying
Lee and a
rings true.
third-round draft pick.
However, there's always a team desperate enough to pull the trigger. It's common knowledge that the Hornets need an upgrade at the center to solidify what's currently looking like a playoff berth. NBA insiders can already feel the trade winds in the air, so it's probably just a matter of
He needs to
time
go to
until
Charlotte.
the Woj bomb finally drops.
Need
on
to be
his
Charlotte.
head.
Needs to be Charlotte.
Number
Needs to be
6,
Charlotte.
Wall gets swapped for Westbrook. Again. You've already heard the saying.
Yeah, I've heard about this one. Okay, this video was made on February 2nd, so it's been a few days since I've heard about this one, man. But I feel like this is gonna be like, I feel like this is gonna happen. I feel like he's going to the Lakers, man. I really do. I feel like that's gonna be the big Woj bomb. It's gonna catch people off guard. Like, yes, we are gonna try out John Wall, because why not?
There's always a team desperate enough. Allow me to introduce a second universal truth of NBA trades. There's no such thing as an immovable contract. By all metrics, Russell Westbrook has fallen short of expectations in LA, and his contract
Unless it's Blake Griffin and the Pistons, you just buy that shit out.
looking even worse than before, if that's somehow possible. The Lakers need a different third star for their team, but their list of trade assets would fit on a single sheet of toilet paper, so there isn't much room for maneuver. Still, you remember that recent trade between the Rockets and the Wizards, where they swapped two immovable
No maneuver,
contracts
but a lot of
in
maneuver.
John Wall and Westbrook? Why not do that again? John
That was
Wall
pretty
was
good,
shut down
I
by the
think.
Rockets a while ago, and he wants to play. Unlike Westbrook, he can hit the three at a decent rate, and he can avoid turning the ball over 23 times a game.
And play off
Rockets wanna
ball.
Get rid of him. And they'll probably take on Westbrook if he comes with a pick and maybe a younger player. Looks like the only
THT in a
question is
first.
if LA's GM Rob Pelinka is willing to admit that they should move on from Brody. Number 5. Domantas Sabonis leaving Indiana.
Washington.
The Pacers are a cursed franchise. There's no denying that.
I
Their
like the
best
fit a
players
lot.
are too good for the team to be stuck in the cellar of the Eastern Conference. That's why it's looking like a total clearance sale in Indiana right now. And that includes Sabonis.
We ain't really see Bradley Beal play with like a super like talented big man, have we? Unless I'm not thinking of somebody, but for years that center position have always been like Thomas Bryant. I think Robin Lopez for a little bit. I mean Gafford's fine, but we ain't never really seen Beal play with a dude like this before, so it'll be kind of fun to watch. I'm all for it.
The young all-star center is by far the team's best trade asset, and he stands to bring in a bounty of picks and or promising prospects in return. The market is there, and it's huge, but we have to question the wisdom of the move. Sure, the team is bad, but that's not Sabonis' fault. The guy's averaging 19, 12, and 5 on 58% shooting. Still, Indy brass.
Yo, and the Wizards got some of them young assets too, between like Rui Hachimura, Denny Avila, like there is ways to get Sabonis on the team if they do want to put that, veteran presence around Beal. The reason I say veteran is because, typically like veteran is associated with like a little bit older player, but Sabonis is, what is he, like 25? So, man, I love him on the Wizards.
Seem to have made up their minds on blowing it all up. so it's all but given that we'll be watching Domantas torch teams wearing a different jersey after the deadline. Number 4. Portland hosts a fire sale.
Norman Powell.
Hasn't been tanking for the past couple of years.
For Eric Bledsoe.
He even played and struggled through most of this season with a lingering abdominal injury that required surgery. Well, he finally decided to call it quits for the season and get his health under control. Translation: Portland is allowed to tank for the rest of this year. Word around the league is that no player except Dame is untouchable. Depending on how crazy they want to get, we could see a whole new team in Portland in just a few weeks.
Yo, was that a big-ass jump ball they were doing? Y'all see that? Oh, I guess that's usually how a jump ball kind of works.
Kick is probably the most likely outcome.
They were all getting ready to tip up, though.
They may even decide to part ways with McCollum. Those two alone can bring a hefty return, but it will be interesting to see what Portland asks for. They own their 2022 first rounder, so they'll probably target win-now guys that they pair up with a prospect they pick in the lottery. That pick is also an interesting asset to dangle in front of teams, but it's just too valuable to trade away. If that pick gets traded, it better be for a superstar, or I could see someone in the front office getting fired. Number 3, Celtics make Horford and Smart available. If you've heard,
I would combine them both together because I think Smart is a pretty decent contract. Al Horford's contract, I think there's a team option on it, but from like a salary cap matching standpoint, I can see him being tossed in some things too.
Just one piece of news about the Celtics this year. It's probably something about them either being dysfunctional or underachieving. Something needs to be done.
Transitional.
They're not yet willing to break up their duo of Tatum and Brown.
Nor
even
should
if
they.
It's not yet 100% clear that they can exist on the floor at the same time. Their solution looks to be trading Horford for a center that will be more involved in the offense. If your first thought when hearing that was, well, what about the Time Lord? He's already on the team. You're not alone. Marcus Smart is also rumored to be on the trade block.
I want Tatum and Jaylen Brown to be surrounded with 3-and-D type of guys. You know, Miles Turner. I actually like Marcus Smart on the Celtics. I wanted them to get Lonzo Ball for a long time. That's obviously not going to happen now. I don't think Tatum and Brown are the problem. I think the way that the roster is constructed.
I'd love to be wrong here, but it's looking like the only thing that will change in Boston is their defensive rating, and probably not in the direction that they were hoping for. Number 2, Atlanta dealing John Collins. Sticking with the theme of teams that are horribly underachieving this season, the Atlanta Hawks.
Good time to do so.
While the Celtics are at least in the playoff picture, the Hawks are 2 spots behind the play in tournament. They're obviously not trading Trey. However, that's not the case with their second best player, John Collins. That trade has been in the cards for a while now. There are rumors that Atlanta is looking for a starting caliber player and a valuable first rounder in return. That's a good haul, but word around the league is that the final return...
It's a good haul depending on who they're asking for, because I mean, Collins is good in everything, but so they want a player that's just as, if not better than Collins, and also a first round pick, because that's not going to happen. But if you get a player that's less talented than John Collins, then that almost signifies them like giving up on this season too, which is like backwards thinking also. So kind of a weird situation for sure.
Will probably be higher than that. Dallas and San Antonio have had their sights set on Collins for a while now. Out of those two, San Antonio is richer in trade assets, but plenty of other teams are willing to throw their hats into the ring. Number 1, Goran Dragic to Dallas. Goran Dragic ending up in Toronto was a bad situation for him.
He wants to be in Dallas.
He can still be a contributor on a playoff contender, but he doesn't fit Toronto's timeline, and he played just a handful of games for the Raptors. In terms of trade assets, his $19 million expiring deal is...
He kind of an old head, though, so I would say as far as his timeline, like, his timeline is whoever's competing right now, and I don't know if that's Dallas. That's like, I would say going to like the Warriors. Like if he wants to win a ring right now, would be amazing.
Gold to teams looking to shed some salary in preparation for chasing big name free agents or to avoid the dreaded
Warriors low-key a good fit.
Still, the Dallas Mavericks have been strongly linked to a trade for Dragic, not because of his expiring contract, but rather because of his strong ties to franchise centerpiece Luka Doncic. Many insiders are surprised that this deal hasn't happened already, so it's probably just a matter of time.
All right, guys, that is the end of the video. I thought this was a good summary of just like different guys that could be on the move and everything like that. So that's all we got for this video. Shout out to NBA Zone. Link to his channel in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching, and peace out, my friends.